Good morning. We are live. I'm Allie Brown. I'm here today with Rachael Jayne Groover in Colorado, correct? I'm
Yep.
so excited because today we're going to dive into, I think, where some of you have been waiting for us to go on this show. On my podcast, Ambition Radio, I've gone really deep into some, current energies around everything going on in the world right now. And my guest today, Rachael Jayne, is someone that, when we were behind closed doors at a meeting recently, we were going into so much of this, and there's so much that we would love to convey to you today. And that's going to come out in just a minute. But this is We Lead Live. I'm excited to have these amazing women on for the next several weeks. These women who have built 7, 8, 9-figure businesses aligned with a mission, aligned with impact, aligned with doing something that they love. And in the current times, ladies and gentlemen watching, I have to tell you that our great work in this world is more important than ever. I think many of you feel like a weight around what you're doing right now. And what is this really about? And there's questioning, and you may have built something that's great, but what is my great work really here? What is it on the planet right now? What am I here to do? And Rachael Jayne, I can't think of anyone better at this time to be talking with today. So welcome.
Thank you, Allie. It's great to be here.
Can you, we were chatting before, I think you're a bit hard to describe, as I am sometimes. I remember dating, I went on a date years ago, and the guy looked at me, he's like, I don't know how to describe you. He said, you're not high maintenance. He goes, you're high concept. And I said, thank you so much. That's kind of how I think about you. You're high concept, but you work with all types of women and men all over the world. So why don't you tell a bit about your story and what you do? I think that would be best.
Yeah, I mean, I think this word awakening is the way to sum it up, from a sense of personal awakening, spiritual awakening, awakening your ability to be a leader, awakening your ability to be fully expressed, all of those things. So I think of our work being first awakening the person, starting with me, and then awakening the ability for leadership in order to awaken the planet to a new level of awareness, consciousness, love, unity, peace, all of these things that we're doing. And we run a school that essentially is educational experiences, pretty cutting edge, interactive, non-conventional educational experiences to help people have that awakening experience, and then to be able to sustain it and hold it, whether it's in their business or a career or personal relationships or money or wherever that is. But that word awakened has been a really impactful word for me. And so my story starts in Australia, where I was a full-time singer, and that's pretty much all I did. I taught stage presence, I taught vocal technique and things like that, but I had this love affair with America pretty early on in my life that it was like,
why was that?
Well, 3 things. One is I kept cutting classes in order to watch Oprah in the afternoon back in the 90s, when she was like having all the Gary Zukovs and Phil McGraw's and Jan Levant. And back in Australia at that point, nothing was going on as far as personal development. Really, it was happening here. So that was the first reason. Second reason was I felt, I would now say it, a spiritual, energetic pull that I am meant to be there. And I can feel that. I felt that ever since. I've been here for nearly 20 years this year. And the third reason is I felt like my man was not in Australia and he was here. So as the hopeless romantic, I set off on my journey, and I've been living here very happily. Found my man a few years after I came here, and it's been great. So I wanted to change careers. I was sick of entertaining mostly drunk men in bars or weddings or things like that, into spiritual and personal development. It was all happening here, so I was like, why not?
Yeah. When people hear the word awakening, they can have different responses to that right now, because it's being thrown around in some positive ways, some negative ways. Can you explain what that really means to you and why it's so important right now and what it really means?
I'm glad you said that, because I don't know how many times, people said, I don't know if you can use the word awakening anymore. I'm like, what? Huh? Have I missed something?
Yeah.
I mean, there is what's happening, I see on one aspect is there's labeling going on. There's so many labels of everything. And so it's done, I think, intentionally, and I think it's done unintentionally, depending on who's doing it. But we see these labels of, if you say this, you must be following this group. If you say this, you must be a pro whoever politician, if you do this. And it's creating very smart people, loving people to hear people say things and then lump them. I'm like, how are you doing that so quickly? And I know it's been done to me, if I'm talking about this time of great awakening, which is undeniable to me, that means my own spiritual journey has been awakening to that I am not who I thought I was for the first few decades of my life. Like, how do I awaken to that these eyes, these human eyes, are not really who I am? There are spiritual eyes behind it that have much higher level of consciousness that is coming through my body and my form. That's not like a normal over tea with your grandma, conversation. Like, it's sort of, what is that awakening process to understand in your body that you are infinite possibility and consciousness, not just infinite possibility of like a personal development workshop, but really the eyes are seeing that as a foundational thing. So there's that awakening of yourself, of understanding you're not who you thought you were. And then awakening of full expression and sharing your voice and being heard, which is a lot of what we teach. There's an awakening to that, and a lessening of fear and a lessening of worry of judgment and an awakening to your presence. And that's been my journey to try and awaken my ability to get you to listen, to stay connected, to awaken energetically. I mean, there's so many pieces. And yes, I've noticed, because some of my clients have been telling me, you can't use the Great Awakening anymore because other people are using it. And I think that that's partly because of labels to try to get people confused and move away from this awakening, which is so happening. It is so happening.
Yeah. It's interesting right now. I even got, someone was telling me, oh, I noticed you follow this person, so you must kind of believe what they're doing. I'm like, I don't even know. I clicked on a post. I liked it. I don't even know I don't do research on everyone that, everyone's just jumping to conclusions.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side of that makes us all scared to speak, scared to share, scared to even question right now. When you look at, and there's so many layers to this, we could lock up for 3 days. If you all want to join us, let us know. Maybe Rachael Jayne and I'll put something together. We shut the doors and turn off, no recording. But there's this, we're being silenced. That's what it feels like, in a way that we can't speak up on things. And that's part of this, right? The categorization and the, so when you say awakening, is there a freedom to that as well? Is there like a freedom that is being, challenged or released, or what's your take on that with 2021? And I'd like you to go into some of your work and how you see that transform.
Yeah, I mean, freedom is a great word. All of these words that we so hold dear: peace, unity, freedom, beauty, truth, all of it there's an attack on all of it. There's an attack on truth. There's an attack on freedom. There's an attack on peace, unity. Like, everything's, again, some would intentionally do this. Others, it's unintentional. It's just part of the mix master of stuff as we move to a higher level of consciousness. So I'm not saying that it's, big bad forces everywhere trying to divide us, but it's in the field. So freedom, when I went through, I had a very significant year-long period of spiritual awakening a couple of years ago. And the amount of freedom that was released from came into my system was unfathomable. Really going from, okay, I can create my own reality, and now I got to get myself in a good space, from that to the freedom of such fast manifestation, such knowing that I am free to create anything no matter what, no matter what's happening. I mean, that freedom was really powerful for my system to go through.
Mm.
So it starts individually, and then collectively, you know, I know a lot of people feel like their freedoms have been impinged upon or what have you. You know, I felt that in certain areas, you know, certain things that I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel quite right to me. And I don't want to trust someone who actually has a history of lying to me. So I may not trust everything that everyone says. And when that's occurred, when I feel like, oh, my freedom is that, I come back to that place of it is not. I can still have choice of what I do in that store, in that, you know, room, like with all the things, all the, you know, restrictions and things. I still have the choice. And then from I have the choice, what is it that I want? Then it's an empowered thing. Maybe I want to go along with what everyone else is doing. Maybe I don't, but that's an in the moment decision. And I don't ever lose that feeling of freedom.
Now, how does this connect to your body of work? And, you know, you've been running a very successful seminar company here in the States for years. You've had global events before. You've had a great year pivoting them online and actually had some great results from that. Let's talk about what you have created with your work from this place.
Yeah, well, it started really in my basement. I had 8 people doing our Art of Feminine Presence event. You know, I was just not thinking big. I was like, wouldn't it be great to like earn $50,000 a year to just live nicely and do some workshops? So it was very basic in the beginning, and it was all about presence. So that awakening and that presence, like how do you become the person who people really want to respond to in a positive way? That's energetic. That's not just the words you say, you know, a lot around the feminine presence and the masculine presence. I was really interested in that. And I know you were too many years ago, just like really being able to keep that feminine presence, whatever that is. So it started very small and then went through the, you know, what most people have to go through to build a really successful business is be very, very humble that you have no clue what you're doing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to now get some coaching. I'm going to look at people like Ali, you know, and go, okay, there's something to this. It's not just like a random thing. And so bringing that presence and the intention with the strategy, you know, and all of that. But I've always come back to that presence precedes strategies. Your awakening or your vibration or your frequency always precedes the strategy. I
like that. I like that a lot, because otherwise we're not making decisions from that place of power.
And people respond to energy. They don't respond to the words only. We're you know, bioenergetic fields that are feeling other people's fields. Whether we want to believe that we have a field like that or not, we are feeling it. And so anyone can, you know, write a business plan idea or come to a VIP day with you, which are awesome, by the way, right? They can come to that. They can go home with a plan, but do they have the presence, the inner presence and the outer presence to pull that off? Well, that's a whole different thing. Anyone can write down a signature speech these days and learn how to do the speak to sell model. Do you have the presence to make everyone in that room listen to you the whole entire time with feeling like you're authentic and powerful and present? No, most people not so much. So that's where we've really been focusing. Even though we teach business and entrepreneurship in one of our programs, it's always presence and you tuning into what I call potential FM, like really tuning into that. That's first. And then when you're in that space, you know, put the strategy. And I had to do that a lot last year because we were almost all in-person seminar company. So that was you know, quite the experience. And it wouldn't have turned around as quick if I wasn't in that place of freedom, potential FM, presence. Otherwise, I would have freaked the hell out.
I think this was a year that for many of us, we now realize all that, thank God we did all that personal work before now. I would be under the duvet. Like I would have not have gotten out. Like, thank God that, some of you watching, when you've done some work on yourself, you're in a good place. That is the key. And I truly believe at this point for you, me, and many of the women that, we work with, that everything we have done up to this point has actually been getting us ready for the current time and what is to come, for two reasons. One, so we would be prepared and in our power. And listen, there are days that I do not feel in power. There are days that, and I have to allow that feeling. And, or world events or things I see that just sadden me incredibly. And I let that move through me. I don't hold back the emotion, but then you got to pony up, saddle up again and come back to that place. And I think I'm going to echo kind of what you were saying in different language that I've been saying, is like, no matter what's going on out there, bringing it back to that power. And if you're not feeling that right now, you may want to look at Rachael Jayne's work, get some other help on this. There's going to be huge demand for this going into the next decade or two or beyond, because people are searching. They already were starting to search for more meaning in their work, more purpose. And how do I align this, right? How do I align this now with my business? And I think the next big trend is, we've seen some of this, but now really people are going to say, you know what? I really want this business I create, this model I create, this work I do to be my great work.
Right.
Because first of all, it will actually be easier for you when there's this synergy. It's not disconnected, right? But also you're going to be seeing the impact you have on others. And those of you who are watching this, and you may feel like, you know what, I've done a lot of work, I know I can help others, and maybe you have a great business, but you'd like to add a delicious layer to that in you. They're going to be watching you. Start sharing more, start speaking more. And it's hard though, and we talked about this in the trust, in the group. There are some influencers, thought leaders, coaches, consultants, teachers, whose audiences have become very divided. And this could be a whole other show on this. And actually, I'd love to have you on Glambition Radio to go a little deeper on this, if you would join me. That's where, how in your experience as well, how can we handle, like, how much do we say, we're worried about alienating some people on our list, but there may be something you're like, God, you know what? It hurts more not to say this. It hurts more not to post this. It hurts more not to say, no, I believe in this, or I think this is wrong, or yes, this is amazing. What's your take on that, given your frameworks and what you teach?
Yeah. I have a few tips on how to navigate that really helped me to go, okay, what do I say? What do I not say? And the first one is to really understand that what you first see on TV, social media, something's occurred, the likelihood of that not being true these days, the likelihood of what you see or the, what people judge that happened, right? There's a high likelihood that that's not actually really what happened. And to go back to the spiritual question of pretty much all the great masters, is it true? Is that true? And as I've been looking through the happenings of 2020 and realizing myself through critical thinking, through investigation, that not all of the things are true. And so I have an intuitive sense, and then I have an evidence-based sense that I go, this is a really important time to hold back, not hold back your main topics, your main points, but hold back on getting in with it with everybody around. No, that's not what happened. This is what happened. No. Because I think from a business standpoint, that doesn't really help in the moment, because the awakening process is happening over a longer period of time. It doesn't happen just right there. So I've learnt over time to not get in there quickly.
Don't jump in the pit. Right?
No, don't jump in the pit, because I don't even know if what's being spoken about in the pit is true.
And it happens so fast now too. People are like, why aren't you saying something? You may be like, wait, I don't still understand what's happening here. Or
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Just stepping back and getting that more bird's eye view.
Exactly. And that even me saying that will piss some people off, as far as like, why wouldn't you think that's true? That was on this and this and this. And I come back to the spiritual and the intuition, like maybe it is, maybe it is, maybe it's not. And I want to hold some space around that. So that was the first thing, that I'm not getting into the pit around any of these things. I want to look at the broader conversation that would help long term, because that's really what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the awakening of individuals, our own ability to express, and the planet. And I know that's not going to happen on a Monday morning, right? It's going to happen over time. And so one thing that you told me in our VIP day was really helpful. And I want to give this tip because it helped when I went home to really get clear on what I'm about and what I'm not about. That just because you see things going on in the world, just because you might vote one way or vote another way, or you follow different scientists than other people's scientists or what have you, you want to get clear on the brand topics of your business. And the brand topics for me are spiritual awakening, fully expressed, creating wealth through doing what you love, tuning into Potential FM, all of these things. I will probably go to my grave talking about all of this, and very powerful manifesting ability, like those things. So, we can take all the things that are occurring, which you said, like, let's take the coronavirus and the challenges of multiple different truths going on, and how to deal with that, and the election, and all of that, right? All of the things. And how can I talk to that from one of my brand topics? And I highly recommend that to everyone, is don't get off. You can talk to it without having to get in the mud of something that's not your expertise. And I'm not.
I love that. Yeah.
My expertise, I know, is not science, and my expertise is not politics. I haven't voted for 21 years. Like, I'm just not into it. Yeah. Not that I won't if something shifts or changes, or I have a change of mind. So I can be in the larger conversation of my own brand, but talk to that. It's actually one of the things I'm doing Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursday nights, thanks to Ali when I went to the trust, going, you got to do this, you got to do this, just on Facebook and YouTube under Rachael Jayne Groover, to be able to just have a space to talk more about newsworthy items, but from a standpoint of awakening versus just getting into it.
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna repeat something you just said, because this is so important. And I think I don't remember giving you this advice, but I'm gonna take it for myself now. Yeah. And that is and it's kind of what I did naturally, in that when I felt the need to speak on some things, you're right, like bring it back to what your core purpose, your business, your model, right? And what topics are adjacent to that? What could you talk? So for me, I bring it back to, I've always just connected smart business practices with critical thinking. So for me, critical thinking is a non-negotiable, burn at the stake. Like that's my lane. Like, and so I can always bring things back to that, and I relate it to business. So if you're watching and you may be in a certain category of business, maybe pick a few of those topics that you're like, I feel passionately about this. I think I could connect it to my purpose and some of the reasons people are following me. But yeah, if you start going off on everything and go bazonkers, it's not going to serve your purpose here, really. And it's also going to probably alienate a lot of your audience. And we're trying to cram a big topic right now into like 4 minutes. But I like that approach, because it is kind of stepping back, thinking, what makes sense for me to share? What is in alignment? What's my jam? And the rest of the things you could talk about privately with family, friends, people. I have to say, it's been such a pleasure having you in the trust. And I've been blown away this year. When this year happened too, and we were going to the meetings, and I think anyone leading a group right now is like, like I don't know where people are, how do they feel about stuff? And you're kind of feeling it out as a leader. And I remember coming into the room, especially in September, for the ones, I was thrilled that most of the members did choose to fly in versus the virtual option. And when the doors were shut, and we're able to have very mature discussions about things going on in there. And we have women who vote very differently. We have everything from like gun-toting Republican women to ones who are, very, very liberal. And so, but to sit down and say, okay, let's pick a topic and have an interesting discussion around this, I was blown away. And I do think it's easier to have those discussions in person. But when you have a group that is a wonderful opportunity to start, maybe, and you all feel this out, right? This is not for this separates the women from the girls, I think, in this skill set and leading. But more importantly, let's flip that. Find places where you can have these discussions.
Absolutely.
And find places where you can, and especially when you feel isolated and lonely. And there have been times over current events and things that I have felt, I'm sure everyone feels this way. And you're like, oh my God, they don't. Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Wow.
Right.
Well, and then finding some people who are open and like, well, what do you think of this? Okay. And then here's some information I found. And I mean, we're losing this. We are losing this power.
I can't agree with you more. That was one of the best few days of my year, going to the trust and having that experience. And when you think about the awakening journey, it's about having a higher level awareness around new information, right? And new understanding. And if we keep being separated and not able to talk, and now with the censorship, we've got it's like in spiritual, in not spiritual, in the awakening process, just higher levels of consciousness in humanity. It's always about transcend what we're at and include. It's always transcend and include. And right now we're in a sort of a dense place of we're going to transcend and not include. We're going to try to transcend to what we think should be better and not include debate. So everyone's censored on one side. We're not going to get together and be able to have long form discussions about this. We'll just label and like get rid of them. And so it's whatever side you're on the thing, like if you're on the side that feels like what you're transcending, I want you to ask the question, how are you not including? And we are, again, intentionally or unintentionally being told that the other side is stupid, is not intelligent, is not that. And when I went to the trust, I'm like, this is proof. You've got all sides, you've got all backgrounds. And these are some of the most intelligent, critical thinking, beautiful women I've been with in my life, really high quality. And we can have conversations without labeling each other and learn. And in the mainstream, that's not occurring right now. So you've got to find the way outside of that to have long form debate. This morning it was like debate. That's how we grew 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And now you're not supposed to have it, which is, again, whichever way you go, we're trying to transcend and include. And to really take that in and how you're doing that or not doing that at a personal level affects.
I'll tell you something funny. I don't know if you can see this on your end, Rachael Jayne, but we just got a notification from Facebook that we were dropped. I don't know if that's my account or not. Let's but we're on YouTube now, we're on LinkedIn. So we're going to finish this. We'll repost it, but like just too funny, right? Like,
I mean, it's so
being silenced.
About not being able to have a debate. Okay, fine.
You can't make this stuff up.
You can't make it up. You can't make it up.
Jump to this, and I'm going to bring it back to you for one or two more things. So, so I want to let you all know, if you're enjoying this and you love, we welcome all types of women business owners. What we do look for is women over the $1 million mark. We have such an incredibly diverse group in so many ways. We would love to invite you to learn more. I'm going to be hosting a private informational call. This is only please for women leaders who are seriously interested. I'm going to be hosting a closed call on, let me put this up here, Wednesday, February 3rd at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. And the link there is at the top. It's jointhetrust.org/private invitation. And if you can't make the call, still sign up, and then my team will, is still happy to talk with you privately. But this call is great because I will be able to answer your questions personally, walk you through why I created the trust, before even 2020, I just had this feeling this was going to be so needed. And I'm just so excited about what's to come for this incredible group of women. So please have a look at that. And we also have an event coming up in Miami Beach at the beginning of March. Our special guest will be Kara Golden from Hint Water. She's built an incredible $150 million company with a product that she knew was better for people than their current options out there, encouraging them to be healthier, very mission-based. You're going to be blown away with her, especially when we have some real time with her that whole morning. So come have a look. That was jointhetrust.org/private invitation. Rachael Jayne is a member, and I'm so excited to have you. Tell everybody about what's coming up for you and how we can support you.
Yeah, well, we've got a big couple of weeks coming up. We're doing a free 3-part training called Be Seen 2021, which is all about healing the challenges that go on there. Ancestral trauma is what it feels like to me, of fear of not being seen. The fear of being seen, the fear of being heard, the fear of judgment, the fear of all of that. And that is off the charts right now. So we wanted to do this 3-part training to reconcile and give you practices and tips to reconcile this push-pull between really wanting to be seen and not wanting to be seen, and really wanting to be in the spotlight and not wanting to be in the spotlight. So you can, really have this year be some, a place where you can get your message out and it be heard. And that doesn't mean in business. There's going to be a lot of men and women who just want to be seen in relationship. They want to put a different energy out with their dating or, the projects that they're in. So it's really not business or not. It's about your presence. It's about you being the person people respond to. And so you can go to fullyexpressednow.com, and it's free, 3 parts, about 75 minutes each day, full of practices and things, meditations. Like, it'd be a really good thing to do if any of you are like, I want to be more out there, and there's the handbrake is on, and it's about getting that handbrake off and being able to navigate the challenge.
When does that start?
It starts next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So that's first week of February. So we're getting everybody registered this week. But first week of February, just go to fullyexpressednow.com. And I'm on YouTube and Facebook at Rachael Jayne Groover. You can search me there and join me one of these evening live streams. I'm on at 8 p.m. Mountain Time, Colorado time.
And I'm going to end on a note that I think is just really important, especially for all the women to realize right now. I really feel into this new time that women are going to be the ones to create the unity, that we have an incredible opportunity right now to do that. But like Rachael Jayne said, it starts in here. It starts with making sure that you have the skill set to do this as a leader. You can see a lot of people out there don't have the skill set, or they desperately want to create change right now, but they don't have the tools, they don't have the foundation. So now is the perfect time for this, because the energies right now, if you tap into this, and not shut the door outside right now, right? But tap into this. There's such incredible energies right now to support you through this. If you'd like to hear more on that, listen to the show I did a few weeks ago on glambitionradio.com. It was called 2021 Liberation. And it was about the liberation starting within to create the liberation starting outward. Nice. And Rachael Jayne, just thank you for doing what you do. I can't wait to see you again in a few weeks, hopefully.
Definitely. I'll be there.
And we're going to have some great conversations, as well as cocktail time, always. Spiritual cocktails. All right, hun. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for joining us. We leave live. And again, if you're interested in the trust, I'll give that URL one more time. jointhetrust.org/private invitation for the women who are a bit of a different breed. You know, this is a bigger game. You've already built something that, you're proud of. It's working well. But now you're like, what is this bigger game? What can I create this year? Still continue to scale my business, think bigger, sell it. That big business thinking is there, but there's an alignment with that is so powerful right now. It's hard to even describe what's going on in the group. So Rachael Jayne, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Allie.
Bye.
Bye.